Hello, crew. Today we are talking about this 2026 Joji record, Piss in the Wind. Now, I was looking forward to talking about this. I needed to make this video because Joji is absolutely one of my favorite artists. He's been one of my favorite artists of the past probably like year and a half, 2 years, probably a little bit more than that. But absolutely love Joji, loved his works in the past. There's 3 or 4 albums he has released in the past. I believe it's 3. He has came out with Ballads 1, then he went into Nectar, and then the third one was Smithereens, which came out in 2020 or 20, no, it's 2022, because it was 4 years ago. So Piss in the Wind, after coming off of Smithereens, I truly thought this was going to be an absolute masterclass. I just have high hopes for Joji because he's one of my favorite artists, so I'm just going to immediately think that his record is just going to be absolutely phenomenal. And I still found a lot of enjoyment in this record. There is many things, many props I can give to Joji, but there's also some critiques I have on it. I think it is far from a perfect album. That is all I will say, but we'll get into the actual album at hand today in a second. First off, I want to talk about his past work. So Ballads 1, I don't remember when this thing was exactly released, but it's a collection of songs. It kind of seems like you can tell it's Joji still trying to find his sound. Lots of the songs are very different. He raps harder on some songs, and then he just is melodic and singing on other songs such as Slow Dancing in the Dark. But there is some really good songs on this thing. Like, I think Slow Dancing in the Dark is a fantastic song. I think that it jump-started Joji's career in general, basically, there. And you have Yeah Right is another fantastic song that I find on the album. They're 2 of the most popular ones on there, but I do think there is also some other decent quality. I think Test Drive's a decent song. Attention has its high points in it, and there's a few songs on it though that are just not very great, which I think are more so on the back end especially. But there's still a lot of good promise on that album. Still a lot of good ground and framework for I keep saying Toji, dude. I'm not talking about JJK. He's literally right behind me. I'm thinking Joji. Okay. But Joji, there's a lot of good promise on that first album. Then he went and released Nectar, which I think Nectar is a very strong album. I wouldn't say like very strong, but there's a lot of strong tracks on it. There's also some misses still, obviously. It's granted, it's a longer album, newer upcoming artists. Not every single song on every single album ever is gonna be perfect. So, but there is a lot, and I mean a lot of good tracks on this thing. You have Like You Do is one of those songs on that album, which in my humble opinion, I think Like You Do is Joji's best song. It is my favorite for sure. It's been my favorite for like a year. There's another song that just came out on this album that is right up there next to it, but we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, you have songs like You Do, Give Me Love, Daylight's another pretty catchy song. That's like one of the more upbeat Joji songs. You don't really find like a happy Joji song that often. It's kind of like a needle in a haystack, some would say, but you do get a happy Joji song, you have one. That's basically it. I think that is literally the only happy Joji song I can really think of. There's maybe like 1 or 2 on this album too, if that's even, I don't even remember exactly, but like you just don't find them that often. That's all I'll say. But anyways, I think that's a fantastic album. Plenty of good songs on it. There's like You is a really good song. Modus is a good song. There's, yeah, multiple different songs on that album, I will say. But then you go on to Smithereens. Now Smithereens, I have mixed feelings here, but I have a lot of love for this album. Do I think it's good? It's just decent. I think there's an equal amount of good songs than there is bad songs. And the bad songs on this aren't even really songs because they sound like demos. They sound like a minute long demos, like a minute 30 seconds. It's like, it's a song, but that sounds just like what do you call it? Like an interlude, which I also forgot to mention about the first In Tongues. That's technically Joji's first EP, which turned into an album when he released a deluxe of it, basically, because it extend the songs a lot more. But you have World Star Money on that, which is one of his most popular songs, which I think is really good. And then there's a couple other songs like Demons and Will He. Those are all pretty decent songs on that. But regardless, we're not going to talk about that right now because that's just an EP. That was his very start. We're just talking about the main source of albums right now. Smithereens, yeah, man. Like, there's some decent stuff on here, though. I think When I Am Freestyle, short, but I think there's some good quality on there. You have Yukon interlude, which is, it's decent. It's pretty good. I don't mind it. And then you have the hit track off of it, Glimpse of Us, which is arguably like top 3 Joji song. I mean, probably is for sure, right? In my opinion, it's like in my top 5 favorites, but it's not like in my top, but it wouldn't be in my top 3 favorites, but it's in the top 3 best probably in terms of Joji's catalog. It's a really good song. And then you have Die For You, which is in my top 3. That is my 3rd favorite Joji song, I believe. That is absolutely one of my favorites. But then you have the rest of the album, which is full of a lot of blah, 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 just really short cut songs that all sound like demos. Not going to talk about those, though. We're going to get on to Piss in the Wind, because that sentence sadly draws over this album a lot. There is a lot of songs on this thing that sound like demos, man. Plenty of the track list is full of those songs. That's why it's ran at like, what's it, like 21 or 22 songs on this thing, and it runs like solid like 40 some minutes, 49, 47 minutes or something like that. It's like, when you can fit that many songs in that short of time, you know they're about to be all short songs for the most part. So this album, the longest song on it is like 3 minutes and something, and I think it's Past Won't Leave My Bed. I'm pretty sure that is probably the longest song on this thing. That or Love You Less. And believe it or not, those are my 2 favorite songs off the album, because they have the most depth, they're the most meaningful, and there's so much development in those songs. Unlike 90% of the songs on this thing, sadly. But you have songs like Cigarette, Tarmac, Can't See Crap Inside the Club. The songs like that, and there's plenty more. There's like 4 or 5 more songs that are just like those ones, with the fault that they are all short. They're all short, have like 0 development. It's basically just a chorus and stuff. And I remember when they released the single, If It Only Gets Better, when Joji released that, I was like, oh, this is going to be an interlude on the album. It's a good song. It acts as a good interlude, in my opinion. I was like, oh, I'm ready to see that act as an interlude in this album. Well, every single song on this album is almost an interlude acting wise, because like they all sound like that quick short minute in between big songs, but there is no big song surrounding those other than like 3 or 4. So there's plenty to complain about with the duration of these songs in this, but let's actually talk about the songs themselves. All right, so we start off with this very first single when Joji first returned to music, is Pixelated Kisses. Now this song's like a minute 40, minute 50. It's really not that long of a song either. Comes at you with some banging freaking some banging bass right at the beginning. It is absolutely insane. It was the last thing I expected from a Joji song, but I'm actually pleasantly surprised. I think it works not like amazing on this album, but as a song it works pretty well, honestly, and I think Joji does a good job on it. And it's not one of those songs where I'm like complaining a buttload about the duration. I do really wish it was longer, but it's not like, I don't think that takes away from the song as much as some of these other songs it does. Like in other songs in this catalog, I think there's still a lot to love about Pixelated Kisses, and I think a lot of fans absolutely adore that song and will forever adore that song because it's just so different, and he actually does really good on it. So that stands as the opening track on this. Then we go into Cigarettes, and then we go into a couple other songs, but eventually we make it to Love You Less. And Love You Less was the 3rd or 4th single. It was the 4th single off of this. And then Last of the Dying Breed was the 5th. But we're going to talk about Love You Less, which is my 2nd favorite song on the track list. I think his vocals in this are very good. Ability to be able to vibrate his voice when he's singing some of these things makes it so impactful, in my opinion. Not a lot of artists can do that, other than like Post Malone is like literally one of the only other artists that I hear do that a lot. But I just think he does a really good job on this track. I don't think it's an amazing song by any means, but I do think for a Joji song, it is pretty freaking good. It's a longer song, like 3 minutes and something. There's a lot of development. There's like 3 or 4 different lines in it apart from the chorus, and that's something you usually don't see in a Joji song. That is one that I really love. There's Last of a Dying Breed on this thing, which is a little bit later. Never mind, it comes right before Love You Less. But Last of a Dying Breed, I didn't listen to this song as a single, actually. I listened to it for the first time on the album because the album came out like a week after it was released as a single. This song is just in my opinion, it is just I think there's like 5 or 6 other songs on this thing that you could say are better than that. It is also kind of interesting to me that Joji released like 3 or 4 of his longest songs on this album as singles. In my opinion, that almost makes it act like he knew those were the best ones, so he released them all as singles, which in my opinion kind of sucks. Like, I like that idea that he releases the best songs to us and stuff so we can hear him as singles and all of that, and I like that we get to hear his best songs, but it kind of gives you like a false hope for the rest of the album Not saying the rest of the album is trash, but it just makes you want all that greatness that you saw in those singles in the actual album itself. But past that point, you have the best song on this thing, without a doubt in my mind, Past Won't Leave My Bed, which comes in like the middle of the track list, surrounded by not great songs in my opinion. There's some like sounding like interlude ones, and then come after it there's more. But Past Won't Leave My Bed comes in right in the middle, and I think this is a fantastic track. It is very meaningful, very like heartbroken, very knowledgeable on like how he's feeling. I just think he shares his feelings in this song very, very well. And the production's really, really good. It's just a great sad song in my opinion. Fantastic. Up there with some of the best in his whole entire catalog, if not like in his top 3, which is in my top 3 favorites. That is my second favorite song Joji has released to date. He also has that song with Giveon on it, Piece of You, I believe the song title is. Giveon does a great job on that. I think Joji's lines definitely do get a little overlooked. He starts and then kind of ends, and Giveon's just the whole entire middle part, which I feel like wasn't a bad choice. I feel like it wasn't a bad choice for the song. Giveon does a really good job. Like I said, Joji's lines are pretty good in the song, but I just feel like they don't last long enough for him to make an extreme impact on that song. And I think him not having like his own really line, he basically just has the chorus essentially, and I think that kind of takes away from the song. If he had a line either before or after Giveon, like a long section where he actually sings or raps or does whatever, I think that would have added to the song a lot. But still not horrendous. He also has a song with Don Toliver, which somehow after Don Toliver's last album, I'm not gonna say anything about Octane, maybe I'll make a video on that album, but he outshines Joji on his own song. And I just think that's kind of sad. There's also a Yeet song. Yeet does decent on it, but I still don't think that song's very great, sadly. I actually had high hopes for that one with Yeet. I figured they actually would have worked together pretty well on that, but it's still just an okay song. And then the last like 3 songs on it, on this album, are all just bleh. In my opinion, they're all just kind of loud noise, some of them, and then some of them are just like blah, 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 and nothing really happens in any of 3 of those songs. There's not really any development, not really anything going on that really catches my attention and makes me like happy leaving this album. So I talked a lot about the album there, and whether you guys gathered my opinion, I talked pretty negatively on it, but I am a Joji fan at the end of the day, so I still freaking love this album. And I'm still going to listen to it constantly. I think one thing I will mention is all of these short songs are all pretty bad on their own, but when they come into an album format, I think that is kind of the only way you can listen to a bunch of short songs and actually somewhat enjoy it. So I do still enjoy this album to a point. When you combine all of these songs together, I definitely think it's far from bad. Now, what would my rating be on this album? I'd say it's pretty good. Far from great. It's not quite up to good. I'd say it's right before good. I'd probably give this album somewhere between 5 and 6 out of 10. That is probably my spot right there. I love to see Joji release music. I hope he continues and doesn't just quit after this or wait another 5 to 10 years to release an album. I hope it is a shorter period of time and he puts more. Well, I hope he can kind of take his time, because this doesn't seem like an album that took 4 years to make. It really doesn't. It really feels like it was almost like a year in the making at maximum to make this thing. So I hope Joji, before he releases another album, that he takes more of his time. But I'm not the artist. Joji is. He gets to do whatever he wants. I'm still going to listen to his music no matter what he makes. So I still love Joji. I still love this record. It's a pretty good record. You should go definitely check it out. Give me your opinion in the comments. Well, we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. I love y'all.